In this tutorial, we are going to talk about sense organs. In humans, we have five main sense organs. These are the eyes that we have for vision, ears that we have for hearing and balance. We have the nose that is there for smelling. We have the tongue that is responsible for taste. We have the skin that is responsible for touch, temperature, and pain. These are the five main sense organs in human and what they sense. Now let's start with the first organ that we name, that is the eye. We are going to talk about the structure of the eye and how it enables us to see. The eye is having three layers, which are the sclera, the retina, and the choroid. The white part that we see, it is being covered by a layer we call sclera. Just below the sclera, we have the choroid. The choroid is having blood vessels in it, and it provides nutrient for the retina. The retina is the part of the eye where the object is being focused. We'll talk about the retina later. When you continue with the sclera, you can see the pigmented part where the eye sometimes can be black, sometimes can be brown, or sometimes can be blue at the center of it. On top of that pigmented area, we have a part we call cornea. The cornea, it is transparent. That means it can allow light to pass through it. The cornea is not having any blood vessels in it. It is partially living. It has its nutrients, its oxygen from a fluid called aqueous humor. The aqueous humor is the fluid found in the anterior chamber between the cornea and the lens, and the pigmented part that we are talking about, in which some people it is black, some brown, some blue in color. That is the iris. The iris, it helps to regulate the amount of light that enters into our eye by controlling the pupil. The pupil is this tiny hole here in between the upper and the lower iris that we have. And just after the pupil or behind the iris, what you have is the lens. The lens will readjust itself for you to see both far and near objects. The ability of the eye to see both far and near objects is what we call accommodation. And this lens is being held in place by what we call suspensory ligaments. In between the lens and the retina, we have a fluid in this posterior chamber that we call the vitreous humor. The vitreous humor, it helps to maintain the shape of the eye, and it helps to keep the retina in place. On the retina, we have a specific part we call foveae centralis. This foveae centralis, it is having more of cones than rods. And within the foveae centralis, we have a part that we call the macula. The macula is having only cones but no rods. The retina, it is having two cells which I have just called, which are the rods and cones. The rods, it responds to dim light, while the cones, it responds in bright light. The rod, it is more sensitive in dim light, while the cones, they are more sensitive in bright light. The rods, they detect black and white, while the cones they detect all the other colors. The cones they are having three pigmented colors, that is red, blue and green. Based on the combination of these various colors that I have named, we can have blue, we can have purple, we can have pink, we can have mauve, we can have maroon. The image that is being formed on the retina is all the time inverted. That means the head is downwards while the foot is upwards. It is the brain that will interpret the correct position of the body, the size, everything, all details concerning that image in the correct form. But what is being formed on the retina, it is an inverted object. And we have the last part, that is the optic nerve. It transmits this sensory information to the brain so that the object can be correctly interpreted. The optic nerve coming from the right part of the eye will join the optic nerve coming from the left part of the eye at a particular point we call the optic chiasma. This optic nerve will carry the information to the occipital lobe of the cerebrum where it has to be interpreted. And we have a part which is not on this slide. This part around here is what we call the optic disc or the blind spot. It is the point where the optic nerve leaves the eye. At this point, even if an object is being focused around here, that object will not be seen. That's why we call it the blind spot or optic disc. Now let's talk about the mechanism of vision. How do we see? When light reflects on an object, it enters into the eye through the cornea, the aqueous humor, the pupil, and the lens in order to be focused on the retina. The cornea and the lens, they help to refract the light so that it will be focused on the right part of the retina, that is the fovea centralis, where we have more of cones than rods, so that the sharpest image of that image will be formed. When that light is being focused on the retina, it has two cells, just like I said, it has rods and it has cones. The rods, as I said, it is most sensitive in dim light, while the cone, it is most sensitive in bright light. The rod, it is responsible for black and white vision, while the cones, it detects colors. As I said, it has three main colors, which are the red, blue and green. Based on the combination of these colors, we can have various colors like purple, maroon, mauve, etc. These rods and cones, they convert the light ray or the light wave into electrical impulses, because it is only electrical impulses that the nerve cell will be able to transmit to the brain, and it is only electrical impulses that the brain can interpret, not light wave. So that light wave will be converted into electrical impulses by the rod cells and cone cells. The image that will be formed on the retina, it will be an inverted image. That inverted image, that information will be sent to the brain through the optic nerve. As I said, the optic nerve from the right part of the eye will join together with the optic nerve from the left part of the eye at a particular point we call the optic chiasma. This optic nerve will carry those electrical impulses to the occipital lobe of the cerebrum where it has to be interpreted. It is the brain now that will interpret the size, the height, the color, and even what you are seeing. It can tell you this one is a lion, this one is a goat, this one is a table, this one is a lion, this one is a goat, this one is a cow, this one is human, this one is this somebody that you have seen before, and this one is somebody that you have not seen before. It will tell you exactly what you are seeing. Now let's talk about the eye defects. Number one, we have myopia, which is also refers to as short-sightedness. It is being caused by the eyeball being too long or the lens being too curved. In myopia, the object is being formed in front of the retina. So in that case, what you will see will be a blur object. Myopia is being corrected by using what we call concave lens. The concave lens will help to move the object from the front of the retina back onto the retina so that the object can be seen clearly. And we have hyperopia, which is also refers to as long-sightedness. It is being corrected by using what we call convex lens. Hyperopia is the opposite of myopia. The hyperopia is being caused by the eyeball being too short or the lens being too flat. In this case, the object is formed behind the retina. So when you use the convex lens, this lens will help to bring the object back onto the retina. Next we have is astigmatism. Astigmatism is being caused by irregular curvature of the lens. In this case, some part of the lens is being curved while some part is being slightly flat. It is being corrected by using what we call cylindrical lens. On this slide here, I'm going to explain about myopia and hyperopia in diagram, how the image is being formed in myopia, how the image is being formed in hyperopia, and how they are being corrected. Also, when I was explaining about myopia, I failed to tell you that in myopia, the person is short-sighted. That means the person can see an object that is close, but the person is unable to see an object that is far away. And in hyperopia, the person can see an object that is far away, but the person cannot clearly see an object that is closer. So now let's explain how an object is being formed in myopia using this diagram. So in this case here, the object it is being formed in front of the retina. As we say, myopia is being caused by the eyeball being too long or the lens being too curved. When the lens and the cornea with other parts refract the light, they focus the object in front of the retina. So how do we correct it? We correct it by using concave lens, which will help to move this focus object from the front of the retina right onto the retina so that the image can be seen clearly. And we have the hyperopia. In hyperopia, the person can see an object that is far away but cannot see objects that are closer. The hyperopia is being caused by the eyeball being too short or the lens being too flat, although it is not being shown as we have here on this slide. But take this one, The hyperopia, it is being caused by the eyeball being too short or the lens being too flat. So in this case, the object is being formed behind the retina. This can be corrected by using what we call the convex lens, which can help to bring the object back onto focus right on the retina so that the image can be seen clearly. We also have other type of eye defects which are not shown on this slide, but I'm going to explain it. We have presbyopia. Presbyopia is being caused due to lack of elasticity of the lens. So in this case, the lens will not be able to focus an object right onto the retina. This can be corrected by using what we call bifocal lens. And we have cataract. Cataract is being formed by cloudiness of the lens, and it can be corrected by using surgical means. And we have glaucoma. Glaucoma is being caused when the vitreous humor fails to properly drain. So in this case, what will happen? There will be pressure within the eye, which will cause damage to the optic nerve. This can be corrected by using an eye drop because sometimes it can be caused by bacterial infection or it can be caused by blockage where the vitreous humor drains. We also have color blindness. The color blindness is being caused as a result of fault of one of the three colors that we have in the cone, that is the red, the blue, and the green. If any one of them is having a fault or it is being absent, the person will experience what we call color blindness. And we have night blindness. The night blindness, it is being caused as a result of deficiency in vitamin A, because vitamin A is responsible to form a pigment we call rhodopsin, which is used in the formation of the rod cells. As we say, the rod, they are most sensitive in dim light. So when the person lacks vitamin A, or if there is any damage to the rod cells, the person will experience what we call night blindness. So in that case, the person will not be able to see in dim light or when it is night. The next sense organ we are going to talk about is the ear. The ear is responsible for hearing and balance. The ear, it is divided into three parts. We have the outer ear, we have the middle ear, and we have the inner ear. The outer ear, it consists of two parts, the pinnae and the ear canal or auditory canal. The pinnae, it helps to collect sound wave and direct them into the ear canal or auditory canal. The pinnae is found only in mammals. The auditory canal, it helps to transmit those sound waves into the eardrum. The ear canal or auditory canal, it helps to transmit the sound wave to the eardrum of the middle ear. The middle ear, it consists of three main parts, that is the eardrum, the ossicles, and the eustachian tube. The eardrum, when the sound wave reaches it, it vibrates and amplifies the sound wave and transmits it to the ossicles. The ossicles is made up of three bones. We have the malleus, also called the hammer. We have the incus, also called the avi, and we have the stapes, also called the stirrup. These three bones that make up the ossicles, they vibrate and transmit the sound wave to the oval window of the inner ear. The eustachian tube, it helps to equalize the ear pressure between the two ears. So the sound wave that is being transmitted to the oval window will move to the round window and into the cloacae. The cloacae is the main part of the ear that is responsible for hearing, and the semicircular canals, they are the main part of the ear that is responsible for balancing. Now let's talk about the mechanism of hearing. How do we hear? The pinnae collect the sound waves and transmit it to the ear canal or auditory canal. The eardrum will vibrate and amplifies the sound wave. The sound wave is then being transmitted to the ossicles. These three bones I named, they will vibrate and transmit the sound wave to the cloacae. When sound wave reaches the cloacae, it will cause the basilar membrane to vibrate. The vibration of the basilar membrane will cause the fluid in the cloacae to move. As the fluid in the cloacae moves, what happens? The ear cells of the organ of Cocci, they will move as well. As the ear cells bend, it converts the sound wave into electrical impulses, and those electrical impulses will be transported through the auditory nerve to the brain, where it has to be interpreted. Next we have on our slide is balance in humans, how it occurs. Balance is being maintained mainly by what we call semicircular canals. The semicircular canals, we have three of it, and they are being oriented in different positions. They help to maintain rotational movements of the head. If I'm rotating my head this way, it is the semicircular canal that will help to determine the position of the head relative to the body. And we have utriculus and the circulus. The utriculus and the circulus, they contain what we call otolith. This otolith, it is a calcium crystal structure. They help to determine the linear movement of the head. For example, if I'm moving my head up and down, it is being determined by them. If I'm moving my head this way, forward, backward, forward, backward, it is being determined by the utriculus and the circulus. So the utriculus, the circulus, the semicircular canals, they will send these impulses to the cerebellum through what we call the vestibular nerve. The brain will interpret the correct position of the head relative to the body, and it will send appropriate information to the skeletal muscles in order to maintain our balance so that we cannot fall or lose balance. The brain is having protective structures. One, it is being surrounded by the skull. Number two, it is being protected by protective layers. Three of it, we have the dura mater, arachnoid mater, and pia mater. These are the three layers that are beneath the skull, which are protecting the brain. The brain is having what we call cerebrospinal fluid. This cerebrospinal fluid, it helps to caution and protect the brain. It also helps to protect the brain from infection. We also have the blood-brain barrier that will prevent the brain from harmful substances which are found in the blood for them not to enter into the brain cells. When we talk about disorders of the nervous system, we are talking about disease or things that will affect the nervous system for it not to function properly. Number one, we have the Parkinson disease. The Parkinson disease, it is being characterized by movement disorder caused by dopamine producing neurons in the substantia nigra. So in this case, when the person is moving, you can observe slow movement. Two tremors will occur. Example, the person hand will be shaking and stiffness of the body will occur. Next we have is Alzheimer's disease. It is being characterized by memory loss due to damage to the brain cells. In this case, the person will experience progressive memory loss and confusion due to damage that will be caused to the brain cells. And we have epilepsy. Epilepsy is being characterized by continuous seizure. So in this case, the person will experience involuntary movement due to abnormal electrical activity in the brain. And most often, that movement is unconscious. That's why we call it involuntary movement. And we have another one which is not found on this slide that is very common, that is stroke. Stroke is being caused when a blood vessel that is transporting blood to the brain is being blocked or is having a tear in it. So what will happen? That part of the brain will lack nutrients, will lack oxygen, and that part of the brain will not function. So all the parts that brain is controlling, let's say the cerebrum, if that part is responsible for controlling movement, if it is controlling the hand, what will happen? This hand will not be able to function. So it will lead to paralysis of the hand, or we can say paralysis of the body. We also have multiple sclerosis. In multiple sclerosis, it is the immune cells that affect the outer covering of the neurons, mostly the myelin sheath. So in this case, the person can experience weakness, can experience numbness, can experience also what we call vision problems. And lastly, I'm going to talk about is what we call the Huntington disease. It is an inherited disease causing the breakdown of brain cells. So in this case, the person can experience cognitive decline and uncontrollable movement.